All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the latest update from Roelly Winklaar, had a lot of people surprised. On his story, he posted a little bit of a physique update where he looks significantly smaller. Now, this is a trend that we're seeing with a lot of older bodybuilders that are not as actively competing. And again, I think it's a good thing and should be encouraged depending on the reason why they're looking downsized. If he's doing it for health and if he's doing it because he's potentially retiring, I think that should be viewed as a good thing. Now, the reason why I thought this was interesting is because obviously we haven't seen Roelly compete since the last show that he did where he did not place very well. Typically, we see Roelly Winklaar in a lineup like the Arnold Classic. That's typically a show he would do to either qualify for the Olympia or get a really high placing. Roelly is a guy that usually competes earlier in the season. We usually see him do some of these shows like the Arnold in the beginning of the season. And if he's not doing the Arnold, I was actually expecting him to maybe do, one of these shows in the next month or so to try to earn an early Olympia qualification. And he said the reason for him kind of doing so poorly in 2021 as far as placings was because of the fact that he wasn't able to train. I think he said he only trained for a few months or something, and most of the year he was unable to train because he didn't have access to a gym or his gym was shut down or something to that effect. So I was kind of half expecting the next update that we saw from Roelly to be either a really lean update or, a much bigger update, just looking like he's ready to compete. It's kind of what I was expecting the next time we saw Roelly. So to see this update on Roelly's story where he looks significantly smaller, it really makes me wonder if we're ever going to see Roelly compete again, which, again, if he doesn't want to and he's retiring and he's trying to downsize and be healthy, should be encouraged. I think that's a good thing. But it makes me wonder if a retirement announcement from Roelly is right around the corner. I mean, him and Cedric are actually around the same age. If not, Roelly might be older than Cedric. And we just saw, the news yesterday that Cedric is not going to be doing the Arnold Classic, and Cedric still has not released his own statement. But there's a lot of speculation that maybe he's going to release a retirement statement. And we've talked a lot, especially over last year, about these young up-and-comers. You've got Nick Walker, Ian Valliere, Brett Wilkin, Hunter Labrada, Justin Rodriguez, just to name a few, how these young guys are kind of replacing the old guard of the guys that we used to see every year being top Olympia placers, every year being the top of the Arnold Classic, the Roellys, the Cedrics. These are guys that were competing and placing well during the Phil Heath and Kai Green era, which already feels like forever ago. And it kind of feels sad and a little bit nostalgic for me because that's kind of the era that I came into really following pro bodybuilding closely. Was like maybe 2011, 2012 was when I really got into following it deeper. And a lot of those guys that were king of the hill back then are just no longer around. Branch Warren, Dennis Wolf, Sean Roden, Phil Heath, Kai Green. These guys, they don't compete anymore. I really think, what we're looking at here, guys, this is the true dawn of a new era. And I think we're seeing the last of that previous generation, that previous era of bodybuilding. I think it's really starting to come to an end, like right now. And the new era of guys is here. I really think that these guys that we've been talking about, some of these young guys, they're going to be future Mr. Olympias. They're going to be future 1, 2, and 3 at the Olympia. They're going to be future Arnold Classic champions.
I think that every bodybuilder has something unique, especially the bodybuilders today. I mean, wow, they are big.
Now, next up in the news, let's talk about the Arnold Classic since we're 1 week out right now. The latest update from Regan Grimes. So we talked about Regan the other day when he posted that front double bicep where he was carb depleted. He was on 0 carbs. He was fasted. It was a morning shot. And to me, he looked a little off. Not only did he look flatter and smaller than usual, but to me, he looked off. Now, in this latest update, where you can see Dennis Wolf, Jay Cutler, and manager Matt, he certainly looks a lot fuller than he did in that front double bicep picture. And he says in the caption of that post that he says fully loaded, which I would assume that means he's been carb loading. And that would explain the added fullness. So I'm curious to see how Regan does this Arnold Classic. I still kind of have a weird feeling about it. The fact that he was sick, they were talking about that messing up his prep. And then let's actually look at this update. Shout out to Buys and Tries. They posted this kind of grid view where you can see all of these recent updates from some of these top guys at just a week out. Well, minus Brandon Curry. We don't know for sure when his picture was taken. But Brett Wilkin, who a lot of people have been talking about. Justin Rodriguez, who is a guy that I've been talking about a lot. He's the guy in the lower right-hand side. Regan Grimes, lower left, and Brandon Curry, top left. Now, this does, of course, exclude one of the names that I feel is one of the most important names in this Arnold Classic lineup, and that's William Bonac. But in all fairness, he hasn't posted a front-facing shot like this at this close to the show. Now, obviously, when I made my prediction video, neither Regan nor Brett were in my top 6. But now, I think things are changed a little bit with both Cedric and Akeem being out of this show, 2 of the guys that I had in my top 6, which opens up, obviously, 2 spots in my top 6. I feel comfortable now saying that Brett will be top 6, and I said that in my last video, but I guess the question now is who is going to take that last spot? Who's going to be the guy that cracks the top 6 that maybe people don't expect, that maybe people don't have in their predictions? Could it be Regan Grimes? Could this be a top 6 placing for him? Another guy I'm really impressed with what I've seen. I've been really impressed with Samson Dauda. What we've seen from Samson lately, I think, his structure is phenomenal. You talk about a guy like Regan bringing something different to men's open bodybuilding. You talk about a fantastic structure. Small waist, crazy V-taper. Samson is that guy. I think, the stuff we've seen from Samson, he looks really good. He's a guy that I think, especially in the absence of Cedric and Akeem, he's got a real shot at the top 6 here. So again, here, let's go back to the list one more time. Who all is out? So first we'll go with who's in. William Bonac, Max Charles, Brandon Curry, Samson Dauda, Regan Grimes, Steve Kuklo, Fabio Giga Rezende, Justin Rodriguez, Brett Wilkin. So Akeem Williams, Muhammad Shaban, Cedric McMillan, Nathan Diasha, and Rafael Brandau are all out. So really, the top 6 is not as difficult to get into now. The question almost becomes who's going to be outside of the top 6, because there's less people outside of the top 6 than are in the top 6. So let's see. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys. Yeah, 9 guys. 9 guys in this lineup. So only 3 will be outside of that top 6. So who are the 3 most likely to be outside of the top 6? And we haven't talked a lot about Max Charles either. He's in here. Man, Steve's in here. I still think we're going to have a competitive show, and I think it's going to suck for whoever's not in the top 6 at this point. So actually, that's what I want to get from you guys. I gave you guys my top 6. In the comments below, give me your guys' predictions for outside of the top 6. Who are your 3 picks to not make the cut? I think that's the more interesting question here now. And the final story that I have for you guys today, as we get closer to this fight between the Persian Hawk and Martyn Ford, I thought it was interesting, this comparison photo that's been floating around of how the Persian Hawk looked in this confrontation with Martyn Ford, which I guess was, I don't know if it was staged or intentional or part of the promo for the fight. I don't know if this was like a press event or whatever. Like I said, I haven't really been following that whole fight too closely. In fact, I don't even know if it's a boxing match. I think it might be MMA. But anyway, he's a guy that was kind of famous for these crazy photoshopped pictures on his Instagram. A lot of people wondering if they were real or not. And I think it's safe to say, seeing him at this event in person, the photos are not an accurate representation of what the guy looks like. And I guess I even want to say props to him, for even showing up, knowing that he looks that different than how he looked online when he was, I guess, from what I heard, he picked this fight with Martyn Ford. They were kind of going back and forth on social media. So I think props to him for showing up knowing he's not what he portrayed himself to be, and still showing up anyway, I guess. I mean, I guess that takes some degree of courage. In all these clips from that confrontation, I've got some better angles for you guys in here now, but all the clips from that confrontation are going like mega viral. And I think one of the reasons is because of how he folded so easily when he was pushed down. I mean, it was like pushing a kid. It was like Martyn pushed a kid. So not only does he not look like this big hulking monster that he portrayed himself to be in these Instagram pictures, but Martyn flung him across the room there with relative ease. So let me know which fight you're more excited for, Eddie Hall versus Hafthor Bjornsson, or will you be watching Martyn Ford versus the Persian Hulk? And I wanted to update you guys. I still have not gotten an answer from Instagram about, will I get my account back? Why was it disabled? I have not heard anything back. So far, I've followed all the steps to try to get it back, and I'm just waiting on their response. I've done all the things that they told me to do, so I'm just kind of playing the waiting game. But in the meantime, you can still follow that backup Instagram, Nick Strength Power. And who knows, I might not get the other account back, so you might have to follow me there if you want to follow me on Instagram at all. So I'm showing it on the screen here. Nick Strength Power is the new Instagram for now. Hopefully we get the old one back. I mean, I'm not really a huge fan of Instagram anyway, but the thing that I'm kind of annoyed about is that this happened right before the Arnold Classic, which is like the second most important weekend in bodybuilding for me. And I use my Instagram to let you guys know when I've posted a video, to let you guys know what's going on like in real time. I'll be posting stories during the Arnold Classic at the show, at the expo, at the competition, backstage. So I'm kind of annoyed that my main account disappeared right before the Arnold. So if you guys want to follow me, Arnold Classic updates, they're likely going to be on this backup Instagram. So thank you guys for watching. As always, let me know if you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, the like button. It helps out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And when you subscribe, click that bell notification icon. That helps out tremendously as well. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys, man. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.